everyone, I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Eric.
And welcome to another exciting Spoilercast. Today, we continue our tradition of reviewing the DC direct-to-video animated movies by looking at Teen Titans, the Judas Contract. And I think this is the earliest after release we've done one of these in a long time. Often, it's been 2 or 3 weeks or a month or two, but we are, maybe a week out? So, I'm excited about that. We jumped right on it.
Well, people already started asking us when we're doing it once the digital one released.
And
which was 2 weeks before.
And that's been happening a lot because
we review them when the DVD comes out.
Yeah, because I buy them for my collection and because we want to make sure that more people will have gotten a chance to see it before we talk about it. But that seems to be the trend now. With a lot of movies, is that everything comes out digital 2 weeks before. When did this start? Maybe a year or two ago?
And there needs to be a big flashing light on all ads that say this, because, oh man, do people constantly show up and be like, hey, is Rogue One out yet?
Go to your store?
No, it's not out.
Yeah. And you see it all the time, like, you do see ads that say released digital, 2 weeks early, but yeah, maybe we're not making that clear enough. But anyway, so this is a movie that Bruce Timm and his team wanted to make for the longest time.
Yeah.
It was talked about constantly. It was one of the really early ones that almost happened just after Superman Doomsday. It would have been in the first 3 or 4.
Yeah, when they announced, their first lineup, it was in that first, 3 or 4.
Yeah, and then...
Which is the weirdest thing, because the explanation for why it didn't get made was there wasn't enough interest in Teen Titans.
Yes.
A very successful cartoon had just ended. Mm-hmm. If you were ever going to make it, that was the time.
Yeah, and I think it would have done as well as Wonder Woman did.
Yeah.
And I don't think they had quite, at that point, decided we're only going to make things with Batman and Justice League in the title.
Yeah, because they were trying other
Superman.
Things.
They did try a couple other things here and there, but it was a little surprising at that point that they didn't do it, and that would have been the time to do it. And I say that somewhat in hindsight now that I have seen this. This is certainly not the movie they would have made for numerous reasons. One of the big ones, of course, is that Bruce Timm's not involved with these. Mm-hmm. And I'm assuming, I don't know, is Sam registered still in the middle of this stuff? I forget, but
I don't know.
There must be somebody still around that remembered that and was, in the old guard and really because the only way this gets made is, I would think, is if somebody from then is like, well, we have a chance now. People kind of liked that other Teen Titans movie we did.
Well, Teen Titans Go has been popular.
Yeah.
That's nothing like this, but Teen Titans Go has been popular. Damien has been part of the Teen Titans for a while. We've been pushing Damien real hard. I almost wonder if the idea of doing a Teen Titans movie comes from, well, we want to do something with Damien. And then...
Is that the big story? I mean,
Judas Contract is the Dark Phoenix saga of Teen Titans.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, and I knew it was big, but I didn't know if there was anything else to rival it. And I should say...
there's a Trigon story, but I guess we kind of did that with...
the first one, yeah. I should mention that this is another one of those things that I am barely qualified to talk about. I'm not a big Teen Titans fan. I've never really cared that much.
And I've never read I've never read any of the Wolfman Prez stuff, so I'm...
But you know things about it.
Yeah.
You've read up on it, but you've not actually read the thing.
And they've started re-releasing that stuff in the bigger, thicker volumes, so I'm going to start getting those.
Now that I know from watching this with you that is the story where Dick Grayson becomes Nightwing, I'm actually really interested in watching it now. It would have been kind of
He's got
obviously
the disco collar.
Yeah, obviously this would have had to not be in this New 52 inspired continuity, which we'll talk about because I think that's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, deterrent to making
Nightwing,
this.
What do you think?
To making this the great movie it could have been, but I also would have loved the thing to have just kind of stood on its own, so that you could have done that story. I think it would have been neat to do the Dick Grayson becomes Nightwing story. We've never done it anywhere.
No.
In animation or any place on screen. So that could have been cool, and it would have been a backdoor way to get Batman involved in one of these again without it feeling necessarily intrusive. Right? Because we use Batman to sell this kind of stuff all the time, and it is really nice that finally they decided with the last one that Teen Titans could stand on its own, and now we've got two of them.
Kind of blew it.
And that, but I'm just saying that, like, good on him for at least trying other properties and taking those kinds of risks.
Well, and they kind of spun it off, because I mean, Justice League versus Teen Titans, like, they were still there.
Well, that's a good point. Justice League, I forgot. Justice League was in that title, wasn't it? So this is, I was right the first time. So this is the first time they've gone, okay, fine, let's see if anyone would buy Teen Titans just in a title.
And it sucks because this movie sucks.
But you're right.
I want it to be good enough that if this does well, it deserves to do well.
Yeah, no,
I don't want this to do well because it's not good.
But I'm just saying that.
Spoilers.
But back to my Nightwing point, like, don't you think that would have been a case where you had a good excuse to involve Batman?
Yeah, except that we've had Nightwing in this continuity.
Exactly, and that's the problem. Let's go ahead and just start there then. As I said, one of the biggest issues with this for me is just that they're stuck in this continuity. It would have been, well, two big things. First of all, I think the Terra story works a lot better if she's part of the team in the first movie. And I think wasn't she the character they set up at the end?
Yeah, she was the after credits scene.
So they were setting this up, and maybe they even knew they were going to do that.
Terra makes way more sense if it's like a season-long arc.
Yeah.
Like, this is not a story you do in a vacuum.
But wouldn't it... Yeah.
You build...
Or if you do, you make it its own thing entirely, and you sort of, like they've done with, like they did with a lot of the pre-52 inspired things, you make it a thing that is just in a world of its own and sort of pretend like it's in a grander comic continuity, but you don't have to have read those, which was sometimes awkward, but sometimes worked okay. I just think this would have worked a lot better even if it was completely its own thing and set apart from any of that other stuff. But also because you're already stuck with the Deathstroke they used I can't keep these movies straight anymore because I don't care. Why do you remember this stuff? This continuity is so uninteresting to me. Like, I have a real hard time not just completely tuning out and forgetting all of those movies. What is this, 7 or 8? I don't even know how many we've had.
That I don't know.
But
1, 2, 3,
so that was
3.
Son of Batman. Okay.
Yeah, 3 Batmans, 3 Justice League.
And that was the first solo Batman movie they did, right?
Yes.
So they did Son of Batman, and then later they did Batman versus Robin.
And then Bad Blood.
Bad Blood, right,
so
okay.
That's 7, so this is 8.
And then they had the Arkham thing, but that wasn't in this continuity.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So we're squared away. I remember something. But anyway, so you're stuck with that Deathstroke who wasn't compelling, and you've got to try to use that background to inform this somehow, and I don't think that works out real well.
No, because we've never, like, it even says on the back of the box, and familiar foe Deathstrike is lurking in the shadows. Well, he's not familiar to them. He has no connection to the Teen Titans.
Yeah.
He has a connection to Damian, but that doesn't even seem to be his motive moving into it.
Fought before though, because when he reveals himself toward the end, when they're all kidnapped, isn't it Starfire is like Deathstroke, as if they've had like
I don't know, because the only people that fight him are Nightwing and Robin, which just goes with we've just made Deathstroke a Batman villain at this point.
Yeah.
I'm so angry about that. I'm so angry about what we've done to Deathstroke. There's a big event coming out for the Teen Titans, and the status quo break, oh my god, it's an event, is Deathstroke is going to show up in the Titans books. Could you imagine if every time Magneto showed up, we were like, you're never going to believe who's showing up in the X-Men. Magneto.
I wish Rebirth, we had done that with Cyborg Superman, because he's been a Green Lantern villain for so long. You won't even believe it. He's Cyborg, and he's wearing a Superman costume. But that is not surprising. We're getting off topic. That is not surprising with Deathstroke, though. That they're making a really big deal out of that, out of the fact that he's a Teen Titans villain. Yeah, they got to put Contract in there, right?
Yeah.
Because it's a Teen Titans event, and that's the thing. Apparently, people know. It's like Demon in a Bottle. There's the one story.
Yep.
But what I was gonna say is, obviously, they've got to do that because they're just playing their greatest hits right now. And that's how... And I mean, there's a lot of great stuff at Rebirth right now, don't get me wrong.
And Teen Titans is really good. I haven't read
that
Titans,
might end up being a wonderful story,
really
but they can only ride that wave for so long, and I'm already done with it with Superman. So anyway, but getting back to...
It's real hard to have an arch nemesis when he has his own ongoing title.
But getting back to this, It's I wanted to mention that it's kind of in odd order of succession that you had the Justice League versus Teen Titans movie, and then you had Justice League Dark, and now you have this.
It feels like this would be the next one.
And there was really nothing else in between. Well, I guess what I'm saying is the last three, besides the fact that the Justice League were involved in that movie, and I guess they were involved in Dark some too, but just a smidge, right?
I don't remember how they were involved at all. It's just Batman, right?
Yeah,
like the Justice League show up at the beginning, like...
but then I just say involved because we see them. But so again, this is the first time that none of them are involved at all. So I guess that's kind of nice.
Even Cyborg.
I'm trying to throw at the bone I can,
which is interesting.
And he could have been, and that would have been fine because he's supposed to be a Teen Titans
And they kind of set it up
character.
in Justice League versus Teen Titans. He likes hang out with them because they're his age.
Oh, I forgot about that. So. Actually, I'll say I wish they had done that.
Yeah.
There are a couple of characters I would have been
Titan.
fine with them replacing with him, honestly, because they've got nothing to say with Blue Beetle, so just get rid of him.
No, they won't get rid of him.
think?
They won't get rid of Blue Beetle because Blue Beetle, for some reason, is this like darling child that they have to put in everything.
But Cyborg's like that too, so...
Yeah, but that's only Justice League stuff.
Yeah.
We just have to make sure everyone knows that he's a founding member of the Justice League.
But he doesn't have to be on Teen Titans all the time.
Blue Beetle,
anymore, even though that's where he's supposed to be. Yeah.
They were talking about doing a TV show. He's forced into the second season of Young Justice and kind of becomes the plot of the second season. He's in Brave and the Bold. We just keep forcing him in, and
but
the only time he's ever worked is that
I don't think that's a fair.
He shows up a lot.
No, I know he does, but they all.
And I like Jaime. I don't even dislike this character. I like Jaime. I just don't need him to be shoved into everything.
You probably like him more than you like Cyborg.
Yeah.
In general.
Yeah.
No.
I like animated Cyborg from the 2000s cartoon. I've never really gotten a good read on regular Cyborg. He seems kind of boring.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like everybody writes him maybe slightly differently, but nobody has to take. It's not like he's a different character every time. It's just nobody has anything to say.
But I read the Wolfman and Prez
he's gotta
stuff, so
be
maybe he's good there. I don't know.
But
I like Jaime. I just don't need him to be in everything that. It's like if there are teenagers. Oh, we can use Blue Beetle.
He's too angsty here. He's not enough fun. He's not fun enough. I feel like, and he can still have the internal conflict he has here with trying to deal with having this kind of symbiotic life force connected to him and how that affects his personal life and stuff without being such a stick in the mud. And I feel like he's only written that way because the only comic relief you're allowed to have is Beast Boy.
Yeah.
It really feels that way. And he is irritating Michelangelo. Like, more irritating Michelangelo.
But meanwhile, they use Raven really well. Because they keep her kind of in the background, and she just shows up when she needs to, when she has something to say.
Yeah, but she sort of feels a little bit like a plot device at the end.
I mean, she's powerful and she uses her powers, but...
I know, but here's my issue with that, though. Because the whole story revolved around her last time, she has to be totally taken out to the point where she's rendered unconscious for the whole third act.
I mean, Damien was too.
Yeah, and they did that too, right? So they're both taken out.
But
because
I like the idea of that because theoretically you're going to let the other characters shine.
No, that's fine, and they weren't interesting enough to carry the movie. No. But they could have been in the background and done things and still not been the story without going to the obvious. You have to knock them out like the Professor Xavier and their Cyclops. Yeah.
She does the big bird at the end.
Yeah, when she like wakes up and does that. That's what I'm saying. She's a plot device because they take her out for most of the third act. If they'd only done that to one of them, it's not as big of a deal. But they did it with Robin and her, and that's the real obvious contrived.
Yeah, I liked her in
place
this
to
movie.
Go. And when she's on screen, I like her a lot.
Yeah.
And they won me over on that character hard with that last movie. I mean, like one of the only really positive things I can say about this entire, and I liked that movie, but one of the only really positive things I can say about this whole thing as a franchise is that that's a character they made me want to go look into, and they've not done that with anybody else. Not that most of these characters aren't people I'm already familiar with, but like I've never really cared that much about Deathstroke, and Arrow didn't make me care about him more because he's a different character in that, and this didn't because he's kind of a nothing character in this. So I'm just saying that, like, I was impressed with them for making me like. Although we should say we liked the last one too. We liked I like
Justice League versus You're talking about Justice League Dark.
We like Justice League Dark a lot. We both said that maybe goes in the top 10.
Yeah.
Of like animated movies that they've made of all time, right? So the last couple have been pretty okay.
Yeah.
But I still don't care about this as a continuity. Like, any way you slice it,
No.
they had an okay Teen Titans thing, and they had an okay Justice League Dark thing, and as a whole continuity, I just still don't care.
No, I think this movie ends up... Like, this movie isn't awful.
No, it's not awful.
The ending is horrendous.
Yeah.
The sappy wrap-up speech that tells you what you're supposed to take from the movie but isn't what was given in the movie.
Yes, absolutely.
That's horrendous. I think this movie...
You're talking about with Tara's sort of pseudo-sacrifice thing that she's not actually sacrificing herself for any reason.
But then we're told
she's kind of just committing suicide.
Yeah.
We pretend like it was somehow rather a noble thing.
And she does not help the Teen Titans. She just goes after Slade because he betrayed her. She's not showing like signs of being good. The only thing is she actually kind of cared about Beast Boy and didn't murder him. And then we get this whole speech about what a hero she was.
Yeah. That was real obligatory and wasn't based on anything.
So that was horrendous, but I think this movie probably ranks around Batman vs. Robin, Bad Blood. Like, it's not as bad as Son of Batman. Its greatest sin is that it's boring.
I still like it better than any other Justice League movies.
I barely remember the Justice League movies, so...
That's my point. Yeah. I'm just saying, these
Aquaman
people...
Aquaman was one of those, right?
At least, yeah, remember Throne of Atlantis.
I know,
That was
my...
but
that's all I remember about Throne of Atlantis.
I remember that one, yeah. And I mean, their Justice League is just lifeless and dull, and they dislike each other for no good reason, and because 52 was like that. These characters are based on the pre-52 characters, more so, because nobody read 52 Teen Titans, and so I assume that's why.
Nobody read 52 Teen
Or
Titans.
maybe it's because by the time we got to
we gave
these,
it to struggling comedians, Scott
we
Lobdell.
already knew we were getting past 52, and so why look at that anymore?
Then why put him in the red?
I know, but
we fixed it.
Did we fix it?
Oh yeah, he's been Blue all of Rebirth.
I didn't remember.
They made jokes about that in the panel.
That's
where
right.
Where they're like,
That's
"What's it
right.
like writing him with a blue costume instead of a red one?"
Yeah, so I don't know why it's like that, except that they're like, well, we still have to base things visually off 52, but like
we're now a year past that.
We're away from it. Nobody's talking about that anymore.
In fact, it seems like public opinion has shifted entirely.
It has. The
thing that I'm getting.
There are those runs people like, but people are like, oh, Rebirth, you fixed it, okay.
Snyder's Batman is the only thing people seem to still talk positively about.
That's not true. Aquaman is still in there.
Aquaman seems to be forgotten.
Yeah, but if people remember it, they'll. But that's a little different though, right? Like it's just that there are the things that are still really popular that are affecting things, right? That all the only reason that is because Snyder was made such a big deal out.
Well, and
Snyder
still runs the whole thing. Jeff Johns' Aquaman is only that first 20 issues.
Yeah, remember, Tom King is acting as if that's the only Batman that has happened, even though, I mean, he's drawing from lots of other things, but anytime Batman talks about things that have happened, it's those arcs and nothing else.
But
so that's why that is, but like...
I am getting the impression from people...
But Aquaman is well-remembered,
that they're like, oh,
is well-remembered, and that's not just me, like, I think people like that Supergirl run.
But the impression I'm getting from a lot of people is like, oh, thank God for Rebirth, and I was like, where were you people 5 years? I feel like you're the same people that were saying New 52 was so good. But, you know, whatever.
But they lost interest.
Yeah. But it does seem to be that, like, as a whole, we've all, comic culture has decided, like, New 52 was a bad idea.
Yeah.
Which I was there at the beginning.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, at the very beginning, I was like, this is a good idea. Oh, wait, you're not rebooting? This is a bad idea. What are you doing?
Yeah, well, I was real quick to
say...
The
Wonder Woman is pretty well remembered by the people that like it. It was a critically acclaimed run.
But, like, look how fast you rushed it. You rushed it out. Like, I never trusted it because it seemed like an 11th hour decision.
And now we're building a whole cinematic universe.
And Rebirth they spent a lot of time on before they even announced it clearly, and they had their ducks in a row. And so anyway, but it's hard to talk. It's hard not to talk about current comics talking about this stuff because it's so weird that we're still in 52.
Yeah, now it feels weird and dated.
But we're not being all like angsty and dark with it, like that's what superheroes have to be now. So that makes this feel even weirder being tied to
and that's one of the things I like so much about Justice League vs. Teen Titans was that it was more lighthearted. It was fun.
And ironically, so was Justice League Dark.
Yeah.
Even though it had some heavy stuff it dealt with.
This movie did like Apocalypse had to repeat the going slow, super fast thing with Quicksilver.
Oh yeah, yeah.
We had a musical montage in Justice League vs. Teen Titans that I liked quite a bit. It was real charming, and I liked it. We do it again here, and it's terrible, and I don't like it.
It's a little nauseating, yeah.
And that song, like the last one was generic as well, but this one felt worse.
Yeah. Can I tell you what surprised me? I was really surprised.
All the sex jokes.
No, because PG-13, we gotta have some reason to make a PG-13.
I think most of those played and were actually kind of funny, except when I couldn't tell when they were or weren't jokes.
I was indifferent towards them, but and I thought the writing, like with a lot of these, was kind of uneven anyway.
That's the Dick Grayson I know and love. I don't know.
Fair enough. But the thing that surprised me was that there was an after-credit scene, because I thought this might be the end of this continuity.
I wanted it to be.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but the after-credit scene is just the villain's not dead?
No, I know, but that tells me that they were thinking when they made it, we might continue the continuity. Even if they're never going to use that whole thing, and what is the point? Who cares?
Why would you use the villain from this movie in your next movie?
Yeah. Or maybe they would use it in a Justice League movie or something, but it's just like they're pretending they're seeding something, or maybe they are seeding something. The thing is, they were seeding something last time, so maybe they have plans, but the thing is, like regardless of who it is, that it's blood and all of that, I was just thinking, oh, you're asking people to anticipate more. And I was more of this continuity, and I was a little surprised by that, because you'd think that with Rebirth there for a year and Popular, that we would abandon this at some point.
Well, and Justice League vs. Teen Titans and this one are both not based on New 52 stories.
Right.
Justice League vs. Teen Titans isn't based on anything in particular.
This is going to be a mistake if we keep doing this, I think. If they're saying we can salvage this whole thing, or just continue with it, like we had that whole continuity, and we've gotten away from the tone of 52, but more or less these are still the characters we would want to deal with, so why not just work in other things we want to do in what we have already pre-established? We've got that foundation. Ooh, I think that's a mistake if that's what they're thinking.
Yeah.
And it seems like they are still doing a continuity movie and then an out-of-continuity movie.
Yeah, because the next one... Well, they'll do 2 continuity movies and then 1 out-of-continuity.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're right, because this is the one right after
Just
Dark, isn't it?
So, and it's... I don't know. So much of this stuff works better when you have continuity. Like, I'm not saying these standalone movies can't work, because obviously they can. We've done a number of really good ones. But...
The number is 6, but we have... No, I'm kidding.
But who could care?
Yeah.
And, like, at this point, who could care?
Yeah, that's the story you tell when you have established characters you're really invested in.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Yeah.
And it needs to be a really sad turn. I've not read that, but I would assume that Tara's a character that is there and you're used to, and then all of a sudden she turns. Wouldn't you want to be kind of invested in that character before that happens?
Yeah, I would think.
You know, and she can have a chip on her shoulder, and you could wonder why she's on the team, and it'd be really cool if it was a payoff. You're like, oh yes, of course, she's a mole of some kind because she doesn't fit with these people.
Well, while I've never read the story, I've heard Wolfman Perez talk about it, and they talk about how they introduced Tara, and everyone thought she was like Kitty Pryde. Like, she was kind of their answer to Kitty Pryde. Because at that point, X-Men and Teen Titans are rival, like, the 2 most popular books.
And they're both books about teenagers, largely.
Yes. And they bring her in, and she's like this terrible person, and who could possibly like her? And people kept waiting for the turn. And they kept being like, there is no turn. She is not going to pull out of this. And people continued, like, up until the end, where it was like, all right, she's gonna turn around, she's gonna be good. She never does.
Wow.
Like
and that's like partly why it's memorable is that she's just...
You expect it to turn.
Yeah.
You expect her to have an arc and become a good person.
And that's because at that time we weren't doing that kind of stuff with a lot of superheroes, right? You know, it's like if you do a story where one goes dark, that's the hero goes dark story, but that wasn't that story.
No,
it was she's dark already.
Yep.
But you didn't know it, so it's hard to believe it. Oh my goodness! It would be like if suddenly Robin was, and I guess we did that too with Jason Todd.
Yeah.
And that's part of why these stories are memorable, is because they were pushing envelopes. They were doing things that were previously thought against the rules.
And I don't know. I think the story can be done well. This is not good. I feel like we haven't talked about this movie at all.
No, and we can get into the story a little bit. Oh, that's great. I do legitimately love that line. You know, I became an orphan. Your parents died.
There was a couple genuinely good jokes. Yeah, one of them I don't know if it was supposed to be a joke, but when Tara's like, I'm going to murder you all, and Deathstroke's like, well, there's no gray area there.
There's no gray area there. I wrote that down. Yeah, that was hilarious. I love it when characters just come right out and scream their motivations. Slade, I'm going to kill you. Okay, I know where I stand. There's no gray area there.
There's no gray area.
Yeah, so yeah, we can get more.
I don't know if I have anything to say about this movie.
sink
I
our
was just
teeth
like,
into
we
this
haven't
a
said anything.
little
We
bit.
just keep saying it's bad.
No, we will, and I mean, like it's got its moments certainly, and there are I think some kind of what's the word I'm looking for? There's some flashes of what worked about that last movie.
The big mistake is they did not bring back the writer.
Yeah.
This is a nobody writer who I've looked up, and I don't know what he's been doing.
Yeah, Brian Q. Miller did the last one.
Yep.
And I thought he had a good voice for those characters.
I do
and
too.
I
They
thought,
should have brought
and
him
I thought
back.
they were more consistent. And here, there was a lot of really stilted dialogue.
There was a lot of
we
really
should
stilted
have
dialogue.
looked up this writer. I'm sure it's one of their staples from those other movies. It just
I
really
don't think
feels
it
like
is.
that.
I
Is
feel
it
like I
not?
looked it up
Okay.
and it wasn't. Because Steve watched this when it released digitally, and he was telling me that he didn't like it. I was like, well, who's the writer? Because I was like, oh man, did Brian Q. Miller do?
If Miller wrote it and it was bad, we'd be surprised.
Yeah, and he was like, it's this person. I don't know them. And then I went and wikied them. And I want to say they haven't done anything major. I don't think they even worked on the other of these.
There are, besides, as I said, weird like lines of dialogue, and like we've had with most of these, weird line deliveries. Lots of really strange line deliveries. Where it feels like the actors don't really.
It's like they get one take.
Yeah, sure. But I was just gonna say it's like they don't get the material any more than the script seems to, and sometimes I don't even know that the script doesn't get the material. It just feels like it's trying too hard to force it into this universe and to make it. I said we're getting away from that tone. But are we also? But are we really?
Yeah, I don't
it's
know.
almost like with this we're back to it a little bit. It's just melodramatic in the wrong way. It's like we can't bring comic book melodrama to screen and make it feel believable in its own internal logic, and that's unfortunate because comic book melodrama can be really fun, but this just feels like bad. Like cringy soap
Well, and we've
opera.
had, and maybe this would have happened if we just did a straight up adaptation. It was a standalone piece. But we've had so much of this now. It doesn't. There's nothing new here. There's
Yeah.
nothing. There's nothing unique or special here. And again, this all works better if
And
these
it
are
feels
characters.
obligatory, like, okay, we got to put out Judas Contract because that's a thing people know, but then you watch and it's so been there, done that. As
Yeah,
you're saying,
well,
yeah.
and like it works better when you know these characters. Like again, it should be a TV show. Young Justice. Young Justice has not done Judas Contract, but it might.
And their logic
could.
was probably, well, we had one movie, so you got to know some of these characters, but part of the problem is one of the characters that matters most in Terror, we don't know yet. We have to be introduced to her in this and have that turn. She should, if you were going to do this, she should have been in that last movie.
Yeah.
Even if she was mostly a background character just running around with them, she really should have been in that movie.
Yeah, but it feels like.
Because then at least I could have been surprised. I didn't know anything about this
It's hard to care about any of the status quo changes for these characters because it doesn't feel like there is like Dick and Starfire moving in together, and like it's their relationship moving forward. I don't think they were dating last movie. Like I got the impression they were just kind of like hooking up sometimes, but like they weren't in a relationship.
Yeah,
I don't
remember.
get to feel like when
I know they were doing stuff because you had that Skype call.
when he asks her to move in, or maybe even the indication last time was that it was a previous relationship that had passed. But
okay.
but whatever it is.
Oh, I think they actually, to be fair to that movie, I think they talked about it a little bit. And I think we just don't remember. I think they didn't give us that. But yeah.
It's... I can't feel anything when he asks her to move in because I don't know these characters and I don't know if that's actually a big step or... Like, you know what I mean?
Being 5 years, it should have been marriage, right?
Yeah, and they have a wedding in the comics. Raven shows up and she's evil and she attacks Starfire, and then once that's all resolved, they don't actually get married. But I did read that stuff. I had that as a kid.
But it would have... That's great.
Yeah, I had the wedding issue, and in the back, for some reason, was a Perez-drawn all of the Teen Titans girls in bikinis at like a
This
at like a
explains
lake.
everything.
It explains a lot.
It explains everything.
But yeah.
But yeah, so that's another thing that would have been nice to have more than established in the last movie, to actually spend some time with them, because or this movie could have been hurt by that being not written by Miller, because if that was effective, like a lot of the other stuff in that movie, we could have gotten to this, and all of a sudden that relationship feels kind of stilted and forced, because I thought that I wasn't really buying their chemistry at all.
Well, and
you said you liked some of the lines with the sexual innuendo, and maybe on the page it was
from
okay.
Dick's side.
But I didn't buy them together.
Yeah, well, the problem is, and it starts with the opening scene, which is
It's useless.
But
we don't need to see them meeting for the first time.
And
now they're trying to do a parallel thing there with Beast Boy and Terra.
Yeah,
I guess that's part of why that's there. But it didn't need to be their meeting because we don't see him and Terra meet.
No, and Beast Boy.
It could have been just some earlier mission. And why don't you just have it be? Sorry, why don't you just have it be some mission tied to what's going on here? Oh, I know! Have it be the first time the Teen Titans dealt with Deathstroke, so you can make them a Deathstroke villain, maybe.
Yeah,
you know, do something like that. Or have it be something to do with Brother Blood, because he has a speech about how he...
hates superhumans.
And he acts like, am I wrong about this? He acts like specifically the Teen Titans, like, I'm going to punish them for what they've done to me, and I'm like, wait, hold the phone, let me pause this for a moment.
I couldn't figure it out if it was
because
what they've
Deathstroke
done
has
to
a
me.
beef with Damian, but not the Titans, and Brother Blood needs the Titans. All the Titans! All the Titans, he
It
says.
almost reads
Makes
like...
a big deal out of it.
Well, but he says...
So that should be your opening scene, right?
Well, but he says
set that
it's
whole thing
because... Or he does say what they've done to me, but I don't... But he hates super people, and I wonder if it's just super people, and like, well, the Teen Titans are teenagers, so they're going to be easy to get, as opposed to the Justice
Right,
League.
but he says something about, like... Well, and maybe this is just, like, nonsense, like, overly convoluted rules for the technology machine, but he says there's going to be an imbalance in the machine if they don't have all of them.
Well, it's not all of them,
the
it's the number. He needs that specific number, which is why they throw Terra in.
Right, so...
Terra doesn't get thrown in because she's a Titan. She gets thrown in because they need
There are 3,000
number.
other superheroes. Just run out and grab another superhero. Like, why does it have to be her? So it seems like there's something like there's like a poetic justice thing for him there that I'm not fully understanding. And he's real generic, and then we're supposed to be excited about him maybe coming back. So I don't understand that.
But with the thing with the opening,
yeah, sure.
The part of why that parallel doesn't work is Beast Boy likes Terra. In the opening, Starfire's really hot and she's wearing a bikini.
Yeah, that's it.
And that's the problem with this whole movie is I almost kind of feel like Dick Grayson is only with her because she's hot.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
I mean, that's Dick Grayson, but he doesn't move in with a girl that he just thinks is hot. He'll pal around with her, but he's not just going to move in with her. And I never got anything beyond that. I never got why he likes her beyond.
And it doesn't seem like it's supposed to be that superficial. It's just generically, we have a history. I've been running this team with you.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of it. And there were a lot of... It seemed like we just kept shoving in like personal conflicts and character traits without their paying off or really having anything to do with the grander story a lot.
It feels
like with him specifically or with them together, she's hung up on maybe I don't have great leadership skills because look, the team looks at you as a natural leader and I don't feel like I'm doing my job when you're around. That never comes up again. It doesn't really matter.
You know how it pays off? They all get kidnapped and he shows up and saves them.
Yeah.
Like...
Yeah, he's Tommy Oliver. He's the White Ranger.
Yeah, It feels like somehow, like, 18 movies in, they keep writing scripts and they're like, wait, 80 minutes?
How by this point... We're 11 years in, guys.
What are we doing wasting time with Blue Beetle at a soup kitchen hitting on some girl that doesn't even show up at the end of the movie? What?
Just to give him something to do. It's like...
You have 80 minutes!
Yeah.
It's all you have.
Here's the irony. And again, we should have looked this guy up because I don't know the right history. But we have in the first movie a much tighter narrative written by a TV guy. And here...
And twice the number of characters. Because you have the Justice League.
Oh, yeah, of course. Oh, except...
I mean, they kind of get pushed to the background.
The movie's not about them.
No, but they're there.
Yeah, but let's not give them too much credit for that, because there's no characterization there. They get brainwashed,
That's
remember?
true.
I mean, most of the movie, they're effectively robots. But with that movie, you had a TV guy who knew how to write a movie, and here, this wants to be a TV show. With a bunch of character subplots.
It's a Next Generation movie.
Yeah, except they're actually trying to do things with every character. Those movies, very often it's just Jordy is fixing something and he gets kidnapped. And yeah, but anyway,
yeah, that's not like Beast Boy going on a Kevin Smith podcast at all, which is the funniest scene in the movie.
Yeah, what an odd choice.
Okay, but here's because he actually goes on Kevin Smith podcast.
Yep.
And Kevin Smith shows up, and I'm sure he's bawling the entire time he was recording the lines for this movie. But the man can't stop crying. But he goes to the Kevin Smith podcast. Yes.
Yes.
And no one's
there.
I
saw the movie. He does.
No one's there.
Oh,
we were like, oh,
this is the best.
Did Deathstroke set up a fake podcast interview?
Something I have to give them is that they make a character completely idiotic, and they know it, and they do it because it's funny.
Yeah.
He's so much the comic relief. Again, he is Michelangelo, right?
Mm-hmm.
He is.
That's how you get
Michelangelo. Mikey. Yeah, that you can possibly go. He walks into the studio. There's a big button that says "Don't push this button."
He pushes it.
And he pushes
and
it.
And the mic opens and shoots him with darts.
Darts shoot out. And the best thing about that is that the reason you write "Don't push" on this button is because Deathstroke knows he's going to. And I just think that's hilarious. It's like I know if I say don't do this, this idiot kid is going to do it. And I, like you, while we were watching it, was really wishing that there was no Kevin Smith podcast. Okay. And that Deathstroke had sent out the tweet in the first place.
This is where I'm confused, though. Because he goes on Kevin Smith's podcast later.
Yeah. So what happened to Kevin Smith in the first place?
Yeah, what happened to the... What is there?
Okay, here's what I think happened. I think he just siphoned everyone's gas. I think that's all that happened. Everyone that was supposed to be in that building that day, gas got siphoned, they're wondering what happened, and no one was the worse for wear. That's what it was. It's the only thing that makes sense. Because I feel like if Deathstroke kidnapped them and did horrible things to them, Kevin Smith might have mentioned that. And he wouldn't seem so chill.
Yeah,
during that podcast.
10 years ago when Kevin Smith showed up in comic book movies and things, it was kind of cool because this was a guy that likes comics, and now he's just a guy that has no critical thinking skills. And so him showing up, I liked it when he shows up.
Kevin Smith.
I like old Kevin Smith.
I hate to say anything against him, but I'm with you. He doesn't have a lot of critical things to say anymore.
Especially about DC,
yeah.
Which makes sense because he's directing DC TV shows and things, but he loves everything DC right now.
Well, more of that has to do with his relationship with Jeff Johns, I think. He has been involved with selling those movies in certain situations, right? Like he did that. He did that TV special with Jeff Johns.
That's true.
That was setting up all those movies and making a big deal out of how much he can't wait to see them. Well, of course you're saying that and you're acting like you trust everything.
But that seems how he acts every time, all the time with everything right now.
Yeah, but I just feel like there's kind of there's maybe a little bit of an investment where he wants to be on good terms with DC.
But when he showed up in TMNT for 2 minutes, I was like, oh, that's cool, it's Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
And now it's like, I'm just rolling my eyes at the movie. Like when he was like, I'm going to be on Kevin Smith's podcast, I was like, yeah. And then Kevin Smith showed up, and I was like, oh, well, we're doing this now.
And it's funny, because that's at least the second time they've done that in the direct-to-video movies. Not this continuity, but he shows up in Superman Doomsday. Yeah.
Doesn't he say something about should have been a giant spider?
Yes, it's great.
Yeah.
No, there is a giant spider, and he's like, holy crap, there's a giant spider, and it's really funny. If you know anything about Death of Superman Lives, or if you know anything about Superman Lives.
Yeah.
And that story's in that documentary, but truncated. Find him talking about that.
Oh yeah, it's on YouTube. Kevin Smith, Death of Superman, Superman Lives, something like that.
Yeah. So he was supposed to write this. If you don't know about this, he was supposed to write that script. And there's this whole thing about how there had to be a giant spider in the third act. Go look it up because the story's hilarious.
It's on YouTube. It's also on the First Evening with Kevin Smith DVD.
Yeah, it's
a great story about Prince too that you should hear.
I've watched that 2 or 3 times. It's great. It's so
great.
Funny. It's
his story about Prince is really funny too. I should show you that too.
I want to talk about logical fallacies.
Okay.
Because there are a couple of hilarious ones.
Pushing, do not push.
I get in a... What's that now?
I said pushing, do not push.
Yeah, well, the thing is, that is a scene that I understand what's happening, except why those people aren't there, and that Beast Boy is just that dumb. And he seems like a liability to this team, but I'm still supposed
when you're
to care.
That dumb!
Yeah, that maybe this is his last mission, I'm thinking.
Like everyone else.
I don't care that you can turn into an elephant.
Well, they're sitting in that big...
That might be a bad thing for us sometimes.
Kirby-esque contrapment.
Contrapment?
Yeah, contrapment. The Kirby-esque contrapment.
Is that a thing?
The big machine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's kind of Kirby looking. And it's a contraption.
It sounds like you put two words together. Contrapment? Is that
I'm
a
sure
word?
contraption is a word.
Oh, okay. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Anyways, comment below. But
trying to decide if you wanted entrapment or contraption.
contraption's probably what I was going for.
Is that what you're going for?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry to criticize your language.
But the
legitimately wanted to know if that was a word.
they're all sitting on that machine. It is now.
Oh no, I'm gonna say it all the
all
time.
languages invented.
We're gonna put it on a t-shirt.
But they're all in that Kirby-esque machine, and they're
Yes,
all.
but all language is not degeneration. That's an important distinction.
Contraption's a new bold word. Contraption.
Contraption is a new bold word. Contrapment.
What's the word I invented?
You said contrapment.
Yeah, contrapment.
Yeah.
Contraption is a new bold word. It means the same thing as contraption.
Oh no, we're putting it on a t-shirt. Yeah.
Well, it's a contraption that you entrap people with. It's a.
It actually makes a lot of sense. Like that, yeah, no, that should be a word. I like it a lot. Yeah.
Anyways, so they're in the big Kirby machine, and because this is how they all are, except for Beast Boy, who's like this, and Terra, who's like this, and you were sitting here, and you were sitting here, and you were sitting here,
and you were there, and you were there.
But no, they're all sitting in that machine, and they're like talking to each other, like, well, how'd he get you? Like, well, he shocked me through a desk, and he shot me in the wood, and I don't know how he got Starfire.
That's one of the big ones I want to talk about.
That. But they're all like telling how they got caught, and then Beast Boy's just gonna be like, well, he put a button that said "Don't push," and I pushed it.
And now,
why are you on this team? I didn't know you were that dumb. I thought you were like the lovable goofball.
Beast Boy says, "Now I want to preface this story by saying that any of you people in the same situation would have done what I did. You see a button that says don't, you always read it as do. There's no way around. It was big and it was red. What do you want from me?"
Look, I'm sorry. I didn't like sugar today.
I had to know. Now, in my defense, when I pressed it, I tried to duck, but they came here, so there was no...
Do you want to talk about the magically appearing bulletproof planks of wood?
So there's one thing I want to talk about before that, because these things are correlated. So there are two really weird logical fallacies. Now that first one with the don't push button is a logical fallacy in the sense that how are you that dumb? This is...
Yeah, but we laughed.
And that's the thing. And that's
that scene works. Like, we're making fun of it, but that scene
is great. I like it a lot. But these two things are the sorts of things that actually up the enjoyment of this movie for me, and I'm glad they're there because they make it less generic. It makes no sense. I don't know how in the world you think to do either of these two things, but I'm glad they're here because they're the only things that will help. They're some of the only things that'll make me go back and watch this again, maybe. But here's the thing.
You're never going to go back. You can go back and watch Justice League vs. Teen Titans. You like that one.
When I am 55 years old and have to do the rewind, but that it will not be of my own volition. Anyway, so the first one is you give a guy a superpower to be invulnerable.
Oh yeah, I forgot about this scene.
I don't understand that.
Okay, so they're testing this machine. I think it's the machine that they're using on the Teen Titans later, but I'm not sure. They make him, they like power him up with superpowers, and then they hit him in the face with a crowbar. They hit him in the stomach with a crowbar,
and then he takes the crowbar and he bends it.
So he's like, good, the machine works.
He can't be hurt, it seems like.
At least impenetrable skin.
Yeah,
like Luke Cage.
And I guess it's possible that he's that blunt force isn't going to hurt him, but something moving that fast would. It's just a weird scene without it being talked about, right?
Because then they just shoot him, and it's some kind of special bullet because it's red and it seeps into his skull, like his skull almost starts healing around it, but it's not explained.
And it's like they fully understand how this thing works.
Yeah, they're like, oh, he's invulnerable.
Yeah, and how when you're writing that
are
you not thinking, especially when you see it animated, how are you not thinking the audience is going to go,
no,
wait a minute, he's invulnerable, how did you shoot him? Okay, later, much later, you have Dick Grayson, who's fighting out of costume.
They're connected by bullets.
and he's fighting Deathstroke, and he gets on the end of a pier like it's the pilot of Gotham, and Gordon is supposed to shoot the Penguin, right? They're on the end of a pier, and
I was
Deathstroke
thinking
shoots
Punisher
him.
04. I thought it was going to explode, and Dick Grayson was going to get flung from the pier.
I just thought there was going to be a big speech.
Yep.
And Dick was going to be like, "Do what you have to."
Yep.
And then he was going to get shot. But he gets shot, and they play it real sad. And there's the real drippy, dramatic music, and he drops in the water. And
the scene itself is dumb because they're fighting back and forth. Then Deathstroke pulls out a gun, goes like this, and just stands there, and then goes, "I'm tired of this." And Nightwing pulls up a batarang and then gets shot. Like, he doesn't try to dodge it. He doesn't.
He knows what's going to happen. Jump out of the way.
Yep. He doesn't throw the batarang.
If I were him, especially given what ends up happening, I would have just jumped in the water in the first place, and then maybe see if you can get someplace like where he won't find you, sneak up behind him or something. I don't know. But anyway, but the reason that he doesn't dodge is because he knows he's going to be okay. Because somehow or other he knows exactly where he's going to get shot. I mean, the plank of wood is like like 3 or 4 of my cell phones. I mean, it's not that big, right? Like
it's a little bigger than that.
It's maybe a little bigger than that. Yeah, maybe not even that many cell phones. So, he gets shot, but it's like good job, you knew just where you would shoot. But that's not the logical fallacy. Let's not bury the lead. The lead is it's made of wood. So 2 things. First of all, when did he get the wood and put it in?
We were trying to figure this out. We're like, do we miss something? Is there a point where he's rolling around, he picks up wood and stuff, says, where did the wood come from? Is he always riding around on the motorcycles with wood in his shirt?
Yeah, and that doesn't make sense. It plays as if something's missing. It's like he's supposed to
It's like a payoff for a setup that didn't happen.
Yeah. It's like he is supposed to be really he's using resourceful. He's using the items in his surroundings, because if you had the time to prepare, you wouldn't use wood. You'd use something metallic or Kevlar or something, right? And you assume there's maybe some kind of Kevlar or something that in your actual suit.
When he first got up, I thought there was going to be a line about, like, I'm glad Bruce makes me wear, like, armored motorcycle jackets, even when I'm not in like something like that. Like it's
opens that up. If I had to take 5 guesses, 10 guesses, 25 guesses, none of them would have been wood.
Your first thought would have been like, oh, is it the Back to the Future gag?
That's
like, is
exactly.
it the fistful of dollars thing?
The metal thing, or is it just going to be Kevlar? Is it going to be?
Oh, he's got his costume under there.
Is it a frying pan? It could be anything.
For the kids at home, if you're going into a firefight, wood will not protect you from bullets.
I would not assume that would... We blow up wood. We shoot up wood.
We shoot through wood sometimes to hit other people.
In splinters all the time. In movies, and I assume real life. I'm pretty sure that's a thing that in real life is true. So, here are the rules of this universe that I don't understand. The only conclusion I can draw is that in this world, invulnerability does not make you immune to bullets, but wood is immune to bullets.
Or...
hilarious. Wood is impenetrable.
Or possibly...
to bullets.
Possibly, while bullets are impenetrability's weakness...
You just said that out loud.
Wood is bullets' weakness. Now, through the transitive property, impenetrability is wood's weakness. And it's a thing.
It's cyclical, yeah. And actually, I should mention that, like, it's not exactly impenetrable because the bullet gets stuck in it. So I guess the idea is that wood is a contraptment for bullets. That's what it is. Let me see if there's any other notes.
I would look up entrapment.
I'm
pretty sure contrapment's a word.
Okay, we're gonna do it right now. That's what we're gonna do. So, do you agree with me when I say that they sort of tried to make Terra and Deathstroke both kind of Judases in order to make the title work? Where it's like, she is the Judas for them, but he's her Judas, and that way she can sort of kind of...
Now, I've not read the original story, so I don't know how that plays out.
Okay.
Maybe he does turn against her. Maybe that is in the original thing.
Sure.
I don't think so, but I don't know. I know that they sleep together, and in this, they're not sleeping together. They just say they're going to later.
Okay, contraption is not a real word, but it is, because if the first thing that comes up is Urban Dictionary, you know it doesn't count as a real word, but it is apparently a slang sort of thing, and it seems like just right, but it being a slang thing, it's because people made the mistake you made. It's
people just say it wrong, so now it's real.
Just say it, exactly. That's all it is. So you're not the first person. It's probably entrapment misspelled or mispronounced, says Answers.com, but
or contraption. It's contraption.
It's contraption and entrapment put together. That's what it is, anyway.
Well, what would you call a machine that entraps you and is a contraption?
It totally works. But I would imagine that you're the first person that found a definition and didn't just think that it was some other word that it wasn't actually. Anyway, any other points you want to make about this film? What are we revving up our ending?
This doesn't need to exist because Young Justice is coming back. Like, I wanted to say, I hope they do another one, bring back Brian Q. Miller. I don't care. Young Justice is coming back. I'm getting my DC Universe teen heroes and a lot of the same characters.
I wanted to ask you, and I agree with that. I wanted to ask you if, and I haven't seen a lot of that show, but what little I've seen, would be more likely to watch that than
and that show grows on you.
More of this.
You really need to watch through. It builds. Just keeps getting better because it keeps building on itself.
Yeah.
That's not a show you watch out of order. You gotta watch it build. It starts okay and then it becomes great.
I wish we'd watch this with subtitles because there was a line I wanted to ask you if you heard the same way I did. Where I don't remember if it's Nightwing or who
Slade,
says
I'm gonna kill you. Because that's what I heard.
Is that in there? Okay, yeah, I'm pretty sure that was in there. No, toward the beginning, in the scene the teaser that we don't think needs to be there, and they do this every time. There's always a big fight at the beginning where you're eating up real estate, that really valuable real estate in your 80 minutes. It's all you've got. But anyway,
and then it opens with another fight. Why wasn't the high fight the opening fight? You would have had more time.
That was completely unnecessary. But anyway, so, did I, again, I think it was Nightwing, but or I guess Robin at that point.
Stop making these. You're not good at it. Just stop. You beat Marvel. You finally got one over on Marvel. Just stop.
But
your TV shows suck, your movies suck, your comics are coming around.
That's not totally fair, though, because we like the last two. We don't want them to be in this continuity.
But they weren't
continuity to continue.
Great.
No, but they were. But they were enjoyable. Well, we said the last one was nearly great. We put it in the top 10.
Yeah. I don't know.
But it's easily watched outside of this continuity.
Yeah.
I mean, not that this isn't. It's just that it's too influenced by it. It's too trapped by it. It's contrapped by it. Yeah. But anyway, so With the point I wanted to make, did I not? I think it was Robin. Did I not hear someone in that opening scene when they were introducing themselves to Starfire refer to the team as the Team Titans as opposed to Teen Titans? I'm pretty sure they did that.
I think it's Teen.
Okay, I'll look it up.
There is a Team Titans later.
I know there is, and that
when they splinter off, and that's actually when the Young Justice comic starts.
The reason I wondered about it was I thought maybe they had decided in this continuity they changed the name later. That they start calling it.
But that's weird because they're all teens.
I don't know why they would do that, but maybe I just heard the line wrong. It's neither here nor there. I just wondered if you had heard that because I thought I was probably wrong.
No, I did not.
I'll go back and look. But anyway, okay, well, folks, that's going to be it for us today. Let us know if you saw this, what you thought of it. Leave your comments in the comment bar below, and how you feel about this continuity in general right now. Are folks like us kind of hoping that this ends in favor of something else, or do you really like these and actually want to see them continue?
I just feel like if you're going to do a continuity, give me a TV show.
Yeah.
If you're going to do a continuity, give me a TV show. And it can be a DC Universe TV show that does, 3 episodes of Batman, 3 episodes of Teen Titans, and all exist in the same universe, but it's almost like an anthology show. I'm okay with that.
I don't mind them all being connected loosely. If they've got to keep pumping these movies out. I mean, the awkward thing, it's tough because you're dealing with, as I've said a million times, continuity that we're used to seeing and has been largely written in this long-form storytelling format in comics, and so you have a lot of time to develop characters and do this kind of soap opera stuff, and what you've got here, and so that obviously naturally adapts to television better. What you have here is we want a shared universe because that's all the rage now. You know, we want a animated Marvel universe. I can see the appeal of that, not just because we've got that with MCU and it's successful on the big screen. Why not have it with something like this? But also because early on, the awkward thing about all of these being kind of their own continuity was they were always informed by the comics, and you had to kind of pretend like there were years or decades of comic continuity before it, and it was kind of difficult much of the time to really appreciate them in a vacuum. But it was also awkward because even if you knew your stuff, it wasn't that continuity, and so you didn't know what counted, you didn't know what had happened, like what Superman stuff.
That's
really
Nightwing. He was the Bat's first Robin.
Yeah, and that's why adapting more standalone things is what they always should have done. Like, and that's why New Frontier worked so well, because that does exist as its own thing.
Well, and if you're gonna, if you need to have continuity, then build off the things that people liked. Give me a sequel to Under the Red Hood, because there's more story to tell there.
Yeah. The only continuity stuff they did before was the Batman Superman or the Superman Batman movies.
Yeah, those two are connected. And that's fine because they're both Superman Batman. Sure.
Yeah,
and they were connected in the run. But I don't know.
But I would say if you're gonna keep doing these and they've got to be continuities, just go back to DCAU.
Yeah.
Which they're sort of doing next time, but
or
with
just
some
kind
of
of
the footage
loosely
we've
connect
seen
your previous universe, your previous line of films.
Yeah, but some of that doesn't work together.
No,
but
I just want John DiMaggio back as the Joker. Can I just have that?
And I guess the point I'm trying to make, I don't know if you'll agree with this, is I don't need continuity at all. I think the lesser of two evils is it stands on its own and it's kind of informed by comics, and you just hope that it works enough on its own. I don't love that, but I like that better than this, where I'm not invested in this continuity. So when it's beholden to it, it's holding these things back.
And different characters work better without, like, Teen Titans doesn't actually make sense for its standalone. It's like the X-Men. It's an ongoing soap opera. Batman makes a lot of sense for standalone stories. Superman does too.
You can
Just
do
like
10-minute short films really easily with Batman.
Yeah.
And Superman.
Yeah. For the 50th anniversary, Bruce Timm did that like 3-minute black and white Batman short film.
Yeah. So if you take any of those iconic Golden Age heroes, they all work by themselves in a vacuum in tiny short films.
Yep.
Of course, because, again, at that point, that's more of the kinds of stories we were doing.
And Wonder Woman is coming out this year. To make a Wonder Woman movie, she can also have standalone stories, because nobody knows what her history is. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, and please don't make it the Wonder Woman from these, because she's boring.
Yeah.
And I don't like that voice actress.
Yep.
In that role. I don't know who that is right off, so
Isn't
maybe
it
I've liked her.
Dawson?
Is it?
I think so.
I know she's voiced her before, but I don't, or she's, I don't know if that's who that is.
Rosario Dawson.
Well, I like her, but I don't like what they've done with what that character sounds like.
It's Iron Fist Rosario Dawson, not Sin City Rosario Dawson.
I see. Okay. Yeah.
It's the Rosario Dawson of Two Worlds.
Yeah, clearly the definitive best Rosario Dawson is the Lego Batman Rosario Dawson. That's the best. But anyway, folks, thanks a lot for watching. We sure appreciate it. And again, I am technically on hiatus. You will see me as you are right now, occasionally for timely stuff like this. We'll be back at least to do Guardians 2, both the How We Felt About and the Spoilercast, and there might be some other things here and there if we really get an anchor in and a little bit of free time to make something for you. So thanks for tuning in. We sure appreciate it. Thanks for sticking with us. In the meantime, I am Captain Logan.
And I'm Eric.
See you, folks.